The alarm shrieked through the detention wing as Ethan Cole wiped grease off his hands with a rag that had seen better decades. The alien weapon sat on the workbench in front of him, humming with a frequency that made his teeth ache. 3 hours ago, the Vraxian Queen herself had declared it irreparable. 3 hours ago, she had thrown it across the command deck in rage. 3 hours ago, security had dumped it in the maintenance bay like broken trash. Ethan twisted the 5th crystalline node counterclockwise. The humming stopped. Every screen in the bay went dark. Then the weapon blazed to life with light so bright he had to shield his eyes. The door exploded inward. 4 Vraxian guards burst through, their exoskeletons clicking with panic. Behind them strode Queen Zalara, her 6 arms spread wide in what Ethan had learned meant pure shock. "Impossible," she hissed. Her translator made the words sound like breaking glass. Ethan held up the weapon. It pulsed in his grip, warm and alive. You had the harmonics reversed. The power cells were fighting each other instead of synchronizing. Zalara's primary eyes widened. Her breathing slits flared. "I have studied that weapon for 243 cycles. My finest engineers have examined every molecule. The greatest minds of 17 species have failed." She moved closer, her clawed feet scraping metal. "You are a janitor, maintenance technician," Ethan corrected. He set the weapon down gently. "And yeah, I clean floors, but I also fix things. That's what humans do." One of the guards reached for his plasma rifle. Zalara stopped him with a gesture. "The weapon is operational?" Her voice carried an edge that made every guard in the room tense. "Full power, full function. Better than new, actually." Ethan tapped the housing. "Your original design had a flaw. The containment field was too rigid. I made it adaptive. It'll handle 3 times the output now without overheating." Zalara's 4 secondary arms twitched. In Vraxian culture, that meant she was recalculating everything she knew about reality. "This weapon," she said slowly, "was created by the architects. A civilization that ruled the galaxy before my species learned to make fire. They have been extinct for 1 million years. Their technology is considered divine. Untouchable. Perfect." Ethan shrugged. "Nothing's perfect. Everything breaks. Everything can be fixed." Zalara stared at him for 10 full seconds. Then she began to laugh. It sounded like metal scraping stone. "You are from Earth, a death world. Category 12, the planet where everything tries to kill everything else. Pretty much. And humans survive by adaptation, by fixing what breaks, by making the impossible work. That's the idea." Zalara's laughter stopped. Her expression shifted to something Ethan couldn't read. "Human Ethan Cole, you have done what I could not, what my empire could not, what the collective knowledge of the known galaxy could not." She gestured to her guards. "Take him to the fabrication deck, immediately." Ethan felt his stomach drop. "Why?" The Queen's eyes glittered like black diamonds. "Because if you can repair one architect weapon in 3 hours, I want to know what you can do with the rest of them." The fabrication deck stretched for half a mile in every direction. Ethan had mopped it twice a week for 6 months and never seen it active. Now it blazed with light and motion. Hundreds of Vraxian technicians scurried between workstations while holographic displays flickered with equations that hurt to look at. In the center of it all sat 17 objects under containment fields. Ethan stopped walking. His escort nearly crashed into him. "Those are all architect weapons?" he asked. Queen Zalara moved past him, her ceremonial armor gleaming. "Weapons, tools, devices we cannot categorize. Some we found in ruins. Others were gifts from species now extinct. All of them are broken. All of them are beyond our understanding." She deactivated the first containment field. The object inside looked like a sphere made of liquid metal and frozen lightning. It didn't move, didn't hum, didn't do anything. "The thought render," Zalara said. "According to fragmentary records, it could disrupt neural function across entire star systems. We have tried to activate it for 97 years. 43 scientists died in the attempt." Ethan circled the sphere slowly, his reflection warped across its surface. "You got a scanning rig? Something that can map internal structures without breaking containment?" A technician scrambled to provide one. Ethan studied the readouts, his eyes narrowing. The sphere had 7 distinct layers, each rotating at different speeds. But the rotation was erratic, inconsistent. "It's out of phase," he muttered. "The layers are supposed to move in harmony, like gears in a clock, but something knocked them off rhythm." Zalara leaned closer. "How do you know this?" "Because that's what broken things look like." Ethan pointed to a specific layer. "See that? That's the drive mechanism. It's trying to sync with the others, but it can't. The timing is off by maybe 1,000th of a second. We detected no such timing mechanism because you were looking for something complex, something divine." Ethan pulled a small tool from his belt, but the architects were engineers. Good ones. They knew the best solutions are usually the simplest ones. He reached into the containment field. Every Vraxian in the room flinched. Alarms blared. Zalara raised a hand and the alarms went silent. Ethan's fingers found a seam invisible to the naked eye. He pressed, twisted, felt something click. The layers began to align. Slowly, then faster, then perfectly. The sphere lifted off its pedestal. Blue light erupted from its core. A sound filled the deck that wasn't quite sound, more like pressure inside the skull. Every technician dropped to the floor, clutching their heads. Ethan felt it too, a presence, like standing in front of a tsunami made of pure thought. Then he reached up and tapped the sphere twice. It stopped. The light faded. The pressure vanished. The sphere settled back down, now humming with stable power. Zalara stood slowly. Her breathing slits were wide. "You just activated a weapon that could destroy minds across light years, and then you turned it off. With a tap. Safety mechanism," Ethan said, "built right into the design. 2 quick taps in sequence. Universal emergency stop. Most advanced civilizations use something similar. We never found such a mechanism. Because you were afraid to touch it." Ethan moved to the next object. "What's this one do?" Zalara stared at him like he had grown a second head. "That is the Void Caller. It theoretically manipulates gravity wells, possibly opens rifts in space-time. We have studied it for 160 years. Cool. Let me see it." The containment field dropped. The device looked like a ring of black stone, covered in symbols that shifted when you weren't looking directly at them. Ethan picked it up. It was heavier than it looked. He turned it over in his hands, examining the engravings. "These aren't decorative," he said. "They're instructions. We determined that decades ago. We cannot read them. You don't need to read them. You need to feel them." Ethan ran his fingers along the symbols. They were slightly raised, some more than others. It's a tactile interface for species that don't see the same spectrum we do. Or maybe for operation in total darkness. He pressed 3 symbols in sequence. The ring vibrated. Space around it began to bend. The air itself seemed to curve inward. Then Ethan pressed a 4th symbol and the effects stopped. "Gravity manipulation confirmed," he said. "Works fine. Just needed the activation sequence." Zalara's 4 secondary arms were trembling now. "Human, what you are doing should not be possible. These devices have resisted analysis by the greatest intellects in the galaxy. You have repaired 2 in less than an hour." Ethan set the ring down carefully. "You keep saying that. Greatest intellects, advanced civilizations, divine technology." He looked at her directly. "But you know what I think? I think the architects were just people. Really smart people, sure. But still people. They built things. Things break. And people who build things build them to be fixed. The architects have been gone for 1,000,000 years. Doesn't matter. Good engineering is good engineering." Ethan walked toward the 3rd object. "You want me to keep going, or are we done here?" Zalara was silent for a long moment. Then she gestured to her technicians. "Document everything. Every movement, every word. How it could have slipped outside of our perimeters. Every breath." She turned back to Ethan. We are just beginning." The 3rd device looked like a crystalline tree growing from a base of dark matter. Its branches twisted in directions that made Ethan's eyes water. He had seen the schematics for this one once, filed under catastrophic failure risk in the station's database, to Genesis Lattice, Zolaris said quietly, capable of restructuring matter at the molecular level. It destroyed 3 research stations when we attempted activation. 2,000 lives lost. Ethan didn't touch it yet. He walked around it slowly, studying the way light bent through the crystalline structure. You tried forcing power into it. We followed standard protocols for architect technology. That's your problem. This isn't a weapon. It's a tool. Ethan pointed to the base. See how the dark matter housing is scarred? That's feedback damage. You overloaded it because you treated it like a bomb instead of a precision instrument. He knelt down, examining the base more closely. There were hairline fractures running through the dark matter. Impossible to see, unless you knew what to look for. It's healing itself, he said, slowly. Give it another 50 years and it might be stable enough to try again. Zolara's primary eyes narrowed. You can accelerate the process. Maybe, if I had the right materials. Ethan stood up. You got any stable dark matter? The refined kind, not the raw stuff you use for reactors. A technician rushed off. Zolara moved closer to the lattice. What will you do? Patch the cracks. Let the device finish healing. Then recalibrate the input nodes, so you're not pumping Starship-level power into something designed for precision work. Ethan pulled out a multi-tool. This thing probably runs on less energy than a coffee maker. That cannot be correct. The readings we obtained suggested we're wrong. Because your instruments were designed to measure weapons. Big, loud, powerful weapons. Ethan gestured at the lattice. This is different. This is meant for creation, not destruction. Totally different energy profile. The technician returned with a container of refined dark matter. Ethan opened it carefully. The substance inside looked like liquid night held in a magnetic bottle. He dipped a specialized stylus into the dark matter and began tracing the fractures. The material flowed into the cracks like water finding a channel. Where it touched, the crystalline branches began to glow faintly. It's responding, Zolara breathed. Because I'm giving it what it needs, instead of what you think it should have. Ethan worked methodically, filling each fracture with precise amounts of dark matter. The architects understood something most advanced species forget. More power isn't always better. Sometimes you need finesse. The lattice pulsed once, then steadied into a rhythm like a heartbeat. Ethan stepped back. Okay, now for the hard part. He reached into his toolkit and pulled out what looked like a common electrical tester. Several Vraxian technicians gasped. You cannot use primitive Earth technology on an architect device, one of them protested. Watch me. Ethan touched the tester to one of the input nodes. Numbers scrolled across the tiny screen. Yeah, thought so. You were running about 10,000 times too much power through this thing. No wonder it exploded. He made adjustments to the node using nothing more sophisticated than a small screwdriver. The lattice's glow intensified. The branches began to move, growing and shifting. Alarms erupted across the fabrication deck. It's going critical, a technician shouted. No, it's not, Ethan said calmly. He touched another node, then another. The alarms stopped. The lattice stabilized. It's waking up. There's a difference. The crystalline branches extended outward. Where they touched empty air, matter began to form. Simple molecules at first, then more complex structures. A perfect sphere of iron appeared, hanging in space. Then it transformed into gold, then diamond, then substances Ethan didn't recognize. The lattice was creating elements from nothing. Zolara's 6 arms spread wide in the Vraxian gesture of complete awe. It works. After 300 years. It works. Of course it works. It was never broken, just misunderstood. Ethan powered down the device carefully. You need to completely rewrite your approach to architect technology. Stop treating it like holy relics. Start treating it like equipment. He moved toward the 4th object before anyone could respond. This one looked like a cube of solidified starlight. It sat on a platform surrounded by enough warning signs to fortify a planet. The reality anchor, Zolara said. Her voice had changed. There was something like fear in it now. We believe it can stabilize or destabilize the fabric of space-time itself. We have never dared activate it. Ethan studied the cube. Unlike the other devices, this one seemed to resist observation. Every time he looked directly at it, his eyes wanted to slide away. "Smart," he said. "This one's dangerous. Then you will not attempt to repair it." "I didn't say that." Ethan pulled on a pair of heavy work gloves. "I said it's dangerous. But look at the housing. See those grooves? Those are safety interlocks. About 20 of them." The architects knew this thing was risky. They built in protections. He traced the grooves with one gloved finger. Each one lit up as he touched it, glowing with soft amber light. The problem is, you need to engage all the interlocks simultaneously. Miss even one and the whole thing goes haywire. Ethan looked at Zalara. "I'm going to need help with this one. Someone with more hands than me." The Queen stepped forward without hesitation. "Tell me what to do. When I say go, press the grooves I've marked. Keep steady pressure. Don't let up until I tell you." Zalara positioned her 6 arms carefully. Ethan marked specific grooves with small adhesive dots. "Ready?" he asked. "Ready? Go." They pressed simultaneously. The cube shuddered. Reality itself seemed to flex. The entire fabrication deck wavered like a reflection in disturbed water. Then everything snapped into focus, sharper than before, more real than real. The cube settled into a stable hum. Around it, space remained perfectly, impossibly still. Ethan let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. There, reality anchor. Fully operational. Try not to use it unless you absolutely have to. Zalara stared at her own hands like she'd never seen them before. The universe feels different now. More solid. More true. That's what it does. It enforces the laws of physics in a local area. Makes reality non-negotiable. Ethan wiped sweat from his forehead. Useful if you're fighting something that bends the rules. Terrifying if you activate it wrong. He looked at the remaining 13 devices. "How many more of these have you got?" Zalara's expression shifted to something Ethan couldn't quite read. "Human Ethan Cole, in 4 hours you have accomplished what my empire could not achieve in centuries. You have proven that humanity's reputation as a species of survivors and fixers is not exaggeration." She paused. "But I must ask, why do you work as a janitor on my station? With your abilities, you could command fleets, lead research teams, become wealthy beyond measure." Ethan shrugged. "Because fixing things is what I do. Doesn't matter if it's a clogged drain or an ancient superweapon. Broken is broken. And I like making things work again. Even for a species that has conquered you? That treats you as inferior?" Ethan met her eyes. "You haven't conquered humanity. You've employed some of us. There's a difference." He smiled. "Besides, you need us more than you know, and I think you're starting to figure that out." The next device sat behind a triple-layer containment field that crackled with enough energy to power a small moon. Warning holograms rotated around it in 17 different languages. All of them said the same thing. "Do not approach." Ethan approached anyway. "The silence engine," Zalara said. She stayed several steps back. "We found it in a dead system, where every planet had been rendered lifeless. No decay, no entropy, just perfect eternal stillness. The planets had been dead for 800,000 years, but looked like they had died yesterday." "Let me guess," Ethan said. "You think it's some kind of stasis weapon. We know it is. The only question is scale." Zalara gestured, and the containment fields dropped one by one. "Every simulation we have run suggests that if activated incorrectly, this device could freeze time itself across entire sectors. Trillions would be trapped in a single eternal moment." The engine looked deceptively simple. A smooth ovoid shape, black as deep space, with a single seam running along its equator. No markings, no controls, no indication of how it worked. Ethan circled it slowly. His footsteps echoed in the sudden quiet. Even the normal background noise of the fabrication deck seemed muted here. "It's already active," he said. Every technician in the room froze. Zalara's breathing slits clamped shut. "What? Not fully active. Just idling, like an engine in neutral. Ethan pointed to the air around the device. Look closely. See how dust particles slow down when they get near it? It's creating a tiny bubble of altered time. Probably been doing it since you brought it here. Zalara moved closer, her movements careful. Our instruments detected no such field. Because it's not a field. It's more like a preference. The device is gently suggesting that time moves slower nearby. Most matter ignores the suggestion. But small particles, radiation, things without much inertia, they listen. He pulled out a small ball bearing from his toolkit and tossed it toward the engine. The bearing slowed as it approached, hanging in the air for 3 full seconds before dropping normally. See? Not dangerous, just insistent. Ethan reached toward the seam. The real question is whether we can communicate with it. Communicate? Zalara's voice climbed an octave. It is a weapon, not a life form. Maybe not. Ethan's fingers found the seam. It was warm to the touch. The architects were masters of engineering. But what if some of their devices had basic intelligence? Not consciousness exactly, but decision-making capability. Adaptive programming. He pressed gently on the seam. It responded, opening slightly. Light spilled out. Not normal light. This was illumination from a different kind of physics. Inside the engine, Ethan saw what looked like gears made of frozen time. They moved but didn't move, turned but stayed still. His brain hurt trying to process it. There's an interface, he said, but it's temporal, not spatial. You don't press buttons, you make timing choices. That is impossible. So is everything else I've fixed today. Ethan studied the temporal gears. There was a pattern to their movement, a rhythm, like a song played at the speed of glaciers. He began to tap on the engine's surface. One tap, then another, building a rhythm that matched what he saw inside. The engine responded. The seam opened wider. More light poured out. Ethan could feel time flexing around him. His heartbeat slowed, then sped up, then normalized. The engine was testing him, seeing if he understood the language of duration and sequence. He adjusted his tapping, made it more complex, added syncopation. The engine pulsed. Once. Acceptance. The temporal gears inside shifted, realigned, found a new configuration. How it could have slipped outside of our perimeter is. And suddenly Ethan understood. The device wasn't a weapon at all. It was a shield, a way to protect things from entropy, from decay, from time itself. The dead planets, he said quietly. They weren't killed by this. They were preserved. Something else killed them. The engine kept them from rotting away so someone could study what happened. Figure out what went wrong. Zalara's primary eyes widened. Then the architects were not destroyers. Some of their tools destroyed, but this one protected. Ethan closed the seam carefully. The engine settled into a stable hum. You can use it to preserve anything. Buildings, ships, people. Lock them outside of time until you're ready to bring them back. The military applications are terrifying, yeah, but so are the medical ones, the archaeological ones, the rescue applications. Ethan stepped back from the engine. Good technology is neutral. It's what you do with it that matters. He moved to the next device before Zalara could respond. This one looked like a storm cloud frozen in crystal. Lightning flickered inside it, never quite striking, never quite fading. The Tempest Core, Zalara said. Energy generation on a scale we cannot comprehend. Also potentially capable of destabilizing stars. Ethan examined the crystal without touching it. The lightning inside followed his movement. Curious. It's alive, he said. Impossible. We have scanned it thoroughly. No biological markers. No neural structures. No. Not alive like we're alive. Alive like a fire is alive. It consumes. It grows. It responds to its environment. Ethan watched the lightning dance, but someone taught it to be contained. To be useful instead of destructive. He reached out slowly. Let his hand hover near the crystal. The lightning reached back, tendrils of energy extending toward his palm but not quite touching. It wants to be used, Ethan said. Energy like this, it needs purpose, direction. Without it, the thing goes crazy. That's probably what happened to those stars you mentioned. Someone turned this on and then abandoned it. Left it to figure out what to do with infinite power and no instructions. Then how do we control it? We don't. We partner with it. Ethan touched the crystal. Lightning surged into his hand. Every nerve in his body lit up. He could feel the Tempest Core's hunger, its need, its vast, terrible potential. He could also feel its loneliness. "You've been waiting," he said to the device. "Waiting for someone to understand, to use you properly." The lightning pulsed. Agreement. Ethan closed his eyes and thought about power grids, about distribution networks, about the careful balance between generation and consumption. He pictured the station they were on, its energy needs, its systems. The Tempest Core listened, understood. The lightning inside the crystal organized itself into geometric patterns, stable configurations, useful structures. When Ethan opened his eyes, the crystal had changed. The chaotic storm had become a precisely controlled generator. Power flowed from it in steady, measured pulses. "Hook this up to your station grid," he said, "but carefully and respectfully. Remember that it's choosing to help. It could stop any time." Zalara stared at the transformed device. "You are claiming that architect technology has preferences, desires. Some of it, yeah. The advanced stuff, the pieces that blur the line between tool and intelligence." Ethan flexed his fingers. They still tingled from the lightning. "Makes sense if you think about it. If you're building something to last 1,000,000 years, you make it adaptable. Give it the ability to make decisions. Otherwise, it becomes obsolete the moment circumstances change." He looked at the remaining devices, 9 more, each one potentially world-changing. Each one waiting to be understood instead of feared. "How much time do we have?" he asked. Zalara checked a display on her armor. "My council convenes in 6 hours. They will want a full report on these developments." "Then we better work fast." Ethan cracked his knuckles. "Because once they hear what we've accomplished, everything changes." "Changes how?" Ethan smiled. "Your empire has been trying to reverse engineer architect technology for centuries, treating it like treasure. Like something to be unlocked and possessed." He gestured at the repaired devices. "But humans don't work that way. We don't just study broken things. We fix them, use them, make them part of our lives. You believe humanity should have access to this technology? I believe humanity already understands it better than you do. We've spent our entire existence on a planet that actively tries to kill us. Everything we've built to survive, to adapt, to repair what breaks, and keep going." Ethan's expression hardened. The architects were the same kind of people. Survivors. Builders. They made things meant to last, because they knew nothing lasts forever without maintenance. Zalara was quiet for a long moment. "You are proposing an alliance? I'm proposing you stop underestimating the Janitor." Ethan walked toward the next device. "Now let's see what else I can fix before your council shows up." The 7th device hung suspended in a magnetic field so powerful it distorted light around it. The object itself looked like a seed made of mirrors, each surface reflecting something that wasn't quite there. "The Echo Seed," Zalara said. Her voice carried a weight Ethan hadn't heard before. "This is the device that started everything. The reason I began collecting architect technology. The reason I have spent 2 centuries searching for answers." Ethan studied the seed carefully. Unlike the other devices, this one felt personal. What's it supposed to do, we do not know. But 30 years ago, it activated on its own. For exactly 7 seconds, it transmitted a signal across every known communication frequency. The message was simple: "Come home." Zalara's 6 arms trembled slightly. "We have been trying to understand that message ever since. Who was it calling? Where is home? And why did it stop?" Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. "You think it was calling the architects, or their descendants, or their creations, or something we cannot imagine." Zalara moved closer to the seed. Every species in the galaxy heard that message. It sparked a race. Everyone wanted to find what the seed was calling for. Wars have been fought over less, but you got it first. I claimed it first. Whether I truly possess it remains to be seen. She looked at Ethan directly. Can you activate it again? Probably. But should I? Ethan circled the suspended seed. If this thing is a beacon, turning it on means announcing our location to whoever or whatever it's meant to summon. Could be friendly, could be the opposite. I am aware of the risk, but I must know the truth. My empire, my people. We have built everything on the foundation of architect technology we barely understand. If there is even a chance of learning directly from the source, you're willing to bet everything. Ethan nodded slowly. I get it. But we do this smart. Controlled activation. Limited duration. And we're ready to shut it down fast if things go wrong. He examined the seed more closely. The mirrored surfaces showed reflections that moved independently of reality. In one, he saw himself older. In another, younger. In a third, he wasn't there at all. It's showing possibilities, he said. Different timelines, different choices. This isn't just a beacon. It's a probability engine. It's searching through infinite possibilities to find the right one. The right one for what? For whatever it's programmed to find. Ethan reached toward the seed. The magnetic field resisted, pushing back against his hand. The question is, can we specify what it searches for, or does it have its own agenda? He pressed harder. The field gave way. His fingers touched the mirrored surface. The world exploded into light. Ethan found himself standing in a place that wasn't a place. Around him, stars were born and died in seconds. Galaxies spiraled through accelerated time, and in the center of it all, he saw them. The architects. They weren't aliens. They weren't gods. They were people. Thousands of different species, working together, building together. How it could have slipped outside of our perimeter is creating technology not for war, but for survival against something Ethan couldn't quite see. Something vast and hungry and patient. The architects had fought it, built weapons and shields and tools to push it back, and they had won, barely, at terrible cost. But they hadn't destroyed it. They had only delayed it. And now, it was coming back. Ethan gasped and pulled his hand away. He was back in the fabrication deck. Zalara was gripping his shoulder with two of her arms, steadying him. What did you see? She demanded. The truth. Ethan's voice shook. The architects didn't disappear. They sacrificed themselves, bought the galaxy 1,000,000 years of peace. But the thing they fought, it's still out there, still waiting. And it's patient. The seed pulsed, twice, then began to spin. The mirrors blurred together into a sphere of pure potential. A new message transmitted across every frequency. Not words this time, coordinates. A location deep in uncharted space. And a warning. It comes. Prepare. The seed went dark. The message ended. Zalara's breathing slits were wide. Every species in the galaxy just received that transmission. They will all know the location. They will all go there. Not all of them, Ethan said quietly. Some will run. Some will hide. Some will pretend they never heard it. He looked at the other repaired devices. But the ones who go, they'll need every advantage they can get. You believe the threat is real. I know it is. I felt it. The architects were more advanced than we can imagine, and they barely stopped this thing. Now it's coming back, and we're nowhere near as prepared as they were. Zalara straightened. Her royal bearing reasserted itself. Then we must become prepared. These devices, all of them, we must make them operational. We must understand them fully. We? Ethan raised an eyebrow. You have proven your worth, human. More than that, you have proven that your species possesses understanding that mine lacks. I would be a fool to ignore such an advantage. She gestured at the remaining devices. I am offering you a position, Chief Architect. Full authority over all architect technology. Resources unlimited. Whatever you need. I'm still just a janitor from Earth. No. You are the person who fixed in hours what we could not fix in centuries. You are the person who understands that the greatest technology is worthless without the wisdom to maintain it. Zalara's expression hardened. And you may be the person who saves us all from what is coming. Ethan looked at the devices, the weapons and tools and wonders that could reshape civilization. Then he looked at his hands, scarred from years of work, calloused from fixing 10,000 broken things. Okay, he said, but I have conditions. First, you stop treating humans like second-class citizens. We're partners now or this doesn't work. Second, we share everything we learn. Every species gets access to this technology. No hoarding. No power plays. We're all going to need it. And third, you remember that I'm not doing this for glory or power or wealth. I'm doing it because things are broken and I know how to fix them. The galaxy is broken. The defenses are broken. The unity is broken. He met her eyes, and we're gonna fix all of it. Together. Zalara extended her primary hand. A human gesture she had learned. Agreed. Ethan shook it. Good. Now let's get to work. We've got 8 more devices to activate, and then we need to start building new ones. Because if that thing is really coming back, ancient weapons won't be enough. We'll need to innovate, adapt, build something the architects never imagined. You believe we can surpass them? I believe we have to. Ethan turned to the 8th device. It looked like a flower made of folded space. The architects bought us time. Now we need to use it. Show whatever's coming that the galaxy isn't undefended anymore. He reached for the device. And that humanity knows how to turn broken things into weapons of hope. The flower began to unfold. Reality bent around it, and in the fabrication deck, surrounded by the revived legacy of a dead civilization, Ethan Cole got back to work. Because that's what humans did. They fixed things. They survived. They endured. And they never, ever quit. Bored. 4 months later, Ethan stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned vessel Restoration. Through the viewport, he could see the assembled fleet, 300 ships from 40 different species, all equipped with architect technology that actually worked. All crewed by people who understood that survival meant cooperation. Behind him, the remaining architect devices hummed with stable power. He had activated them all. The Harmony Weaver, that could unite disparate technologies into seamless systems. The Star Forge that manufactured materials atom by atom. The 6 others, each one a miracle that was now just another tool in humanity's growing arsenal. But the best part wasn't the ancient technology. It was what they had built using it as a foundation. New devices. Hybrid creations that combined architect principles with human innovation. Weapons that adapted. Shields that learned. Systems that improved themselves. Commander Lisa Grant entered the observation deck. She had been the first human officer Zalara promoted after the Alliance formed. We're receiving the final check-ins now. All ships report ready. All crews trained. All systems optimal. Ethan nodded, and the civilian evacuations, 97% complete. The remaining 3% refused to leave. We've fortified their positions as best we can. Quote, the coordinates the Echo Seed had transmitted led to a region of space that was simply empty. No stars, no planets, no debris, just a perfect void that every sensor said shouldn't exist. But it did exist. And in 2 hours, the fleet would arrive there to find out why. Zalara entered next. Her ceremonial armor replaced with practical combat gear. The Council has approved the final strategy. We establish a perimeter, deploy the silence engines to create temporal safe zones. If the entity breaches our lines, we fall back in stages. And if nothing shows up, Lisa asked, then we were fortunate to waste our time. Zalara turned to Ethan. But you do not believe we will be that fortunate? No, Ethan said. It's coming. I can feel it. Like pressure before a storm. The 3 of them stood in silence, watching the fleet make final preparations. Ships that had been enemies 6 months ago now flew in perfect formation. Species that had never trusted each other now coordinated like parts of a single organism. Humans had done that, not through conquest, or diplomacy, or trade. Through understanding, through showing everyone that broken things could be fixed. That impossible problems had solutions. That survival wasn't about being the strongest or smartest, but about being willing to adapt. I'd been thinking, Ethan said quietly, about what the architects really were. Everyone calls them a civilization, an empire. But I think they were more like us, a coalition. Different species working together because they had to. Against the same threat we face now, Solara said. Right, and they barely. But they won. Ethan turned from the viewport. So here's my question. They had 1,000,000 years head start on us. Better technology, more resources, more knowledge. Why do I think we have a better chance than they did? Lisa smiled. Because humans are stubborn? Because humans are creative. We don't just use tools the way they were intended. We improvise. We adapt. We find solutions that shouldn't work but do. Ethan walked to the central display. It showed the void dark and waiting. The architects fought with everything they had. We're going to fight with everything they had, plus everything we've learned since. That's the advantage of being the second attempt. You get to learn from the first failure, the ship's AI chimed. Transition to hyperspace in 5 minutes. All personnel to stations. Solara placed one hand on Ethan's shoulder. Whatever happens today, know that you have changed everything. My people. Your people. All people. We were divided, afraid, lost. You showed us the path forward. I just fixed some broken stuff. You fixed us, Solara said, and that was the greatest repair of all. She left to take her position on the bridge. Lisa lingered a moment longer. For what it's worth, she said, I'm glad they assigned you to that maintenance shift. Glad you were the one who found that first weapon. Anyone else would have just filed a report and forgotten about it. Anyone else wouldn't have been curious enough to try, Ethan replied. That's the real human advantage. We can't help ourselves. We see something broken and we have to know if we can fix it, even if it's the entire galaxy. Especially if it's the entire galaxy. Lisa grinned and headed to her station. Ethan remained alone in the observation deck, watching the stars blur as the fleet entered hyperspace. In 2 hours, they would know the truth. They would face what the architects had died to delay. They would learn if human ingenuity and alien cooperation could succeed where the greatest civilization in history had barely survived. But Ethan wasn't afraid. Fear was for people who didn't understand how things worked. He understood. The universe was just another system. Complex, yes. Dangerous, absolutely. But still a system. And systems could be analyzed, understood. Even broken galaxies, even impossible threats, even the darkness between stars that waited with patient hunger. He thought about the janitor he had been 4 months ago, mopping floors, fixing toilets, invisible to everyone who mattered. That person was gone, not replaced, evolved. The skills were the same. The understanding was the same. Only the scale had changed. He was still just fixing broken things. The things had just gotten bigger. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace. The void stretched before them, empty, silent, waiting. Then something moved in the darkness. Something vast beyond comprehension. Something that made black holes look small. And Ethan Cole smiled, 'cause now he could see the problem. And if you could see the problem, you could fix it. All right, he said to himself.